A knife. A single piece of steel. Nothing else. Can you survive? I know most of you will answer no. You are wrong. But first, I want to tell you something. In my opinion, most people have understood preparedness completely wrong. They think they are prepared by buying expensive equipment from Amazon. But what happens when the system collapses? When those expensive pieces of equipment start to become a burden to you? When they become weights that slow you down? Here is the truth. Survival is not about what you carry in your hand. It is about what you can do when your hands are empty. The Equipment Illusion. February 2021. Texas. Winter storm. Power outage. -18 degrees. 4.5 million homes remained in darkness. What did people do? They watched survival gear videos on YouTube. They bought equipment with credit, tactical bags, expensive tools. Then the grid collapsed. 246 people died. Why? Because equipment is not knowledge. Equipment is not skill. If you have an expensive knife but don't know how to use it, you only have a $200 piece of metal in your hand. That's it. I want to tell you a truth here. Statistics show that 70% of survival injuries result from improper tool use. Wrong tool, wrong technique, wrong timing. And the result? Broken fingers, cut hands, infections. And infection is the beginning of the end when the system collapses. Everyone wants to be Rambo or Bear Grylls. They want to look cool with a big knife in the middle of the forest. But the simple truth is this: the people who survive will not be the cool ones. They will be the prepared ones. August 2005. Hurricane Katrina. New Orleans was submerged. People took refuge in attics. They climbed onto roofs. 1,833 people died, most within the first 72 hours. Why? Because they did not possess basic skills. They didn't know how to use a knife. They didn't know how to start a fire. They didn't know how to build a shelter. This is why Zero Protocol teaches a different path. Minimalism, simplicity, mastery. When the system collapses, nothing is guaranteed. Your prep bag might be at home. It might be in the trunk of your car. It might be stuck in a place you cannot easily reach. So what will you do? Will you give up? No. You will get the maximum result with the minimum. The science of steel. Now, let's talk a bit about physics. A knife is not just a tool, it is a force multiplier. The lever principle. Simple machine theory. Archimedes said 2,200 years ago, "Give me a lever long enough and I shall move the world." When you use your knife to break wood, you create a mechanical advantage. You convert small, controlled strikes into massive splitting force. The math is simple. Take a stick 1 meter long. Place your knife on the wood. Strike the spine of the knife with the stick. What happens? The kinetic energy of the strike is focused on the edge. It creates tension along the fiber. The wood splits. It does not require brute force. Those who do not understand this are the ones who get injured. They rely on their arm strength. They swing it like an axe. The result? Cut fingers, broken wrists. A study was published in 2019, Journal of Wilderness Medicine. 64% of wilderness injuries were caused by cutting tools. Why? Lack of technique. But here is the real issue. Which steel do you choose? There are two main options on the market. Carbon steel, old technology. It rusts, but it takes an edge. Stainless steel, modern, shiny. It doesn't rust, but it cannot be sharpened easily. In Zero Protocol, we choose carbon steel. Why? Molecular structure. Carbon steel consists of a crystalline lattice structure of carbon atoms and iron atoms. High carbon content increases the knife's edge retention capability. This means in the field, miles away from civilization, you can sharpen it even with a river stone. Stainless steel? They add chromium. 13 to 18% chromium. It prevents rust, but at the same time, it makes the steel harder. It becomes difficult to take an edge. If your stainless knife goes dull, it is no longer a tool. It is just a shiny paperweight. A prepared mind knows a dull knife is the beginning of the end. Fire. The rule of thermodynamics. Fire is life. This is a thermodynamic fact. Your body temperature is 37 degrees Celsius. Your body works constantly to maintain this. If it drops to 35 degrees, mild hypothermia. Shivering begins. 32 degrees, moderate hypothermia. Shivering stops. Confusion begins. Speech is impaired. Decision-making ability is lost. 28 degrees, the end. Your body shuts down. The heart beats 20 times per minute. Respiration almost stops. Consciousness is lost. If you lose your lighter, the statistics are against you. Hypothermia does not care about your $500 jacket. Brands are irrelevant. Physics is absolute. This is where your steel comes in. The friction engine. The back of your knife, the part we call the spine, must be ground at a 90-degree angle. This is not for aesthetics. This is for striking sparks from a ferrocerium rod. What we call a ferro rod is a metal rod containing a cerium alloy, a mixture of 70% iron and 30% cerium. When scraped with steel, it produces sparks at a temperature of 3,000 degrees Celsius. 3,000 degrees. Half as hot as the surface of the sun. Dry leaves, tree bark, paper ignite instantly. But if there is no ferro rod, magnesium. Scrape the magnesium block with the 90-degree corner of your knife. Create a pile of shavings, then a spark. Magnesium burns at 650 degrees Celsius. It is a short-lived but intense flame. Is it enough? If the tinder is prepared correctly, yes. Think about the biology of heat. Without fire, your body temperature drops. Your prefrontal cortex begins to shut down. Blood flow decreases. Oxygen deficiency. Neurons slow down. You stop thinking like a human. You start reacting like a cornered animal. Survivors know this. They use their steel to create shavings, a nest, and a spark. The others? They just become part of the frozen landscape. Shelter. Survival. Geometry. Building a shelter is an engineering problem, not romance. Geometry. To survive the night, you must create a microclimate. Block the wind, save the heat, keep the rain out. Your steel is your saw, your hammer, your shovel, the triangle of stability. Carve notches in the wood with your knife. Deep notches, narrow-angled. These notches create mechanical locks. Place the poles into the notches. Friction holds. Gravity helps. A shelter built with notched logs withstands a storm that would shred a cheap tent. We are not building for comfort. We are building for thermal regulation. Heat preservation depends on simple math. Q equals M minus C delta T. Q, heat loss. M, mass, your body. C, specific heat, a constant value. Delta. T, temperature change. This is under your control. The more heat you lose, the faster you reach the end. Your shelter must minimize delta T. So how will you achieve this? Block the wind. Cut the convective heat loss. When the wind speed is 15 kilometers per hour, the perceived temperature can be 10 degrees lower than the actual temperature. Isolate yourself from the ground. Prevent conductive heat loss. Cold ground approaches you to the end by absorbing your body heat. An energy loss of 200 watts per hour. Create a small space. Your body heat warms the air. Heating a large shelter requires more energy. Energy loss means calorie loss. Every notch you carve with your steel must be calculated. Do not waste movement. Every unnecessary swing of your arm is a calorie loss you cannot replace. In a collapse, calories are more valuable than gold. Under normal conditions, you burn 2,000 calories a day. What about forest work? 3,500 calories. In cold weather, 4,000 calories. If you have no spares, 3 weeks. You won't die of hunger. But your body starts to eat itself. Muscles begin to melt. Protein reserves are depleted. The immune system shuts down. Then a small cut becomes an infection. Infection becomes sepsis. Sepsis becomes your end. The protocol. Fine. You know the theory. Now let's talk about the application. Steel selection. Carbon steel. Full tang. 4 to 5 millimeters thickness. What does full tang mean? It means the knife blade passes through the entire handle. No glue, no weak points. Force is distributed equally. Length, 10 to 15 centimeters, no longer. Long knives are for show, but you lose control. Weight, ideal between 150 and 250 grams. Sharpening. If your knife is dull, its job is done. Use a river stone. Find a smooth, fine-grained stone. Quartz-based is best. Wet it with water. Press your knife against the stone at a 20-degree angle. The angle is critical. Back and forth. Constant angle. Rhythmic movement. 15 minutes. Patience. Haste makes waste. Then test it. Does it cut paper? Does it lift the hair on your arm? If your answer is yes, your knife is sharp. Fire starting. Ferro rod plus knife spine. Tinder ready. Tree bark. Dry grass. Birch bark is best. It contains natural oils. Oil is fuel. Press the knife spine onto the ferro rod. 45-degree angle. Fast, short strokes. Sparks fall. 3,000 degrees. Instant ignition. Blow gently to add oxygen. Chemistry begins. The flame grows. Add small twigs. Then fuel wood. The fire lives, you survive. Shelter construction, lean-to design. Simple, effective. Choose 2 trees, 2 to 3 meters distance. Find a horizontal pole, as thick as your arm. Secure it at chest height. Carve V-shaped notches. Now vertical rib poles at a 45-degree angle, every 30 centimeters. Weave with branches. Cover with leaves. Rain stays out. Ground insulation, vital importance. Dry leaves, pine needles, thick layer, 20 to 30 centimeters. Cold ground absorbs your heat. Insulation saves you. The reality. Civilization is a thin veneer. Very thin. It is fragile. Power goes out. Water stops flowing. The internet collapses. Supply chains are cut. What remains? Between you and the cold reality of nature, only your skills. Equipment won't save you. Your expensive bag? Useless. Your GPS? The battery fails. Brands? Meaningless. But if you know what you can do with a single piece of steel, that's when you have a chance. A real chance. The forest does not forgive. The cold does not negotiate. The darkness does not wait. Nature is unfair. It punishes the unprepared. Remember Texas 2021, 246 dead in a modern city in the 21st century. Why? Because no one was prepared. No one knew. Everyone trusted the system. The system collapsed. If you cannot survive with a single piece of steel, you cannot survive with a truckload of equipment. Skill is superior to equipment. Knowledge is more valuable than material. Mastery beats money. Choose your steel. Learn its physics. Master your technique. Don't be a statistic. Be a survivor. Zero protocol. Be prepared. Survive.